Gaeilge Weekly is brought to you by Learn Irish Online. For way more shows, videos, podcasts, and courses for learning the language, head to learnirishonline.com or patreon.com/learnirishonline.
You've been the best of times, you walk me through my darkest days. Why must I turn around? I ask myself. This just ain't fair, so hard to bear. I'm not really sure these days. You walk me, you don't
Hello, Modson Wa, Trononama, Falsa Whig, Gaeilge Weekly, Gur Míle give. Thank you very much all. Marscanach, as tunal Isteacht. Whig, an Sachan Shaw, Agron, Cade is a tree, episode number 103 of the show. Hope you are all doing well. Tasulagum Gwilsiv Galer, Egzenu Goma, an Sachan Shaw. All good here, aside from two things. Gachrod Goma an Shaw is Seville, Shakas Garrod, Erdus. Tá sé hart Carrick Celsius, no beidir bioganí níos more and 40 degrees Celsius or a bit more, in fact, outside. Probably the hottest day of the year so far. On law is cho in Bleana, Gaeilge show. And well, I wouldn't say it's going to get hotter. Normally 41, 42 is the peak of what it gets here. It's like I'd say níos cho, not Carrick though, but there'll be plenty of days like this throughout July and August by Gnáthleagan cosúil le seo. Ire miúil agus chumhpháirtíocht sin ire mi lúnasa. But as I've been saying on the podcast over the last few weeks, mar a dúirt mé an bud creile le cúpla seachtain anús. There's a lot bigger problems in the world at the moment, so can't be given out about it being a bit hot. Ní féidir le tuairt no gearan má tá sé beagáinín sa is cuma, and still plenty of things to do in the morning and the evening, and maybe more inspiration or more motivation. Beidir beagáinín níos mó inspráid no spragu hon beagáinín níos mó ibre a dhéanamh Somalia to do a bit more work at home. As well as in Darrod on sin ar nóí go chail Gaeilge on sin ag an tíir seachtaine in I chundaí na mí ní ra méid súil leis an tuair sin churbe cheap me se by okay Gaeilge mlína nimid sig immert róhá tá na himróir jaagí nach níl rud ag an nach gelling mar dearfá I mBéarla agus cheap me what it'll come together. It always does. Tá sin sacla céile cinsa go maimid sa bhálta leathcheannis. But no, it never came together. Níor áirímuid níos fearr churbe, ní ramuid go maith in I moille clia, ní ramuid go maith in I dira, ní ramuid go maith in I ordhacha seachas sa dara le, apart from the second half agus ní raibh spragus tócha ag ordhacha ag an lam sin, mar bhí siad san cáilethe. Hadna féin, they had already qualified. So you have to kind of say it's always different when you're playing against a team. Igoni tá sé difriúil nor atá civic immerts in I fern atá cáilethe hanahéin no beidir atá imithe as an gomórtas hanahéin that are already out or eliminated of the tournament already. Ceart go leor níachcha an cluiche in I dún an Sachtain sa Cats. I didn't see the game against Down last week. Honnig or thula mé go leis gael grámuid beagáiní níos fearr ach an sin sa deir hí chundaí na mí níos fearr. And agus ní rah lethe anna ag chundaí na mí churbe. It's not like Meath had a great game or anything. They were better than Galway for sure. Bhí siad níos fearr ná Gaeilge, but a poor game. I watched all four of the quarterfinals. Bhí méid féchans gach ceann duna cluichí cabhrú ceannis agus caiith mé rá gan dabhas I my hearshe. In my opinion, bhí an cluiche sin idir Gaeilge agus an bhí mar an cluiche is massa ire an tíir seachtain agus bhí an cluiche díreach tar éis an cluiche sin, so an cluiche idir ordhacha agus cuirí beidir mar an cluiche is fearr. So ní tharlíonn sé go minic go mbíonn mé ag dul go dtí an teach tarmhaine éireannach an so is Seville. And I say the Irish pub, so it's not often I go to the Irish pub here in Seville. Jerem, the Irish pub, mar nílach ceann amháin, and so there is only one here. Ní go minic a bhíonn mé an sin ach dúirt mé an tíir seachtaine seo. You know what? It's Gaelic football season an chuí I bríonn an féidir, and ish the way the calendar works now is basically everything comes down to the month of July. You have 4 weekends or five or six weekends really actually. So the second half of June an darla to bhí meitheamh agus miúil ar fad tá an bhálta ceathrú ceannis agat sa namáíocht ar dús an sin an bhálta ceathrú ceannis sa Gaeilge an sin an bhálta leath ceannis sa namáíocht agus an sin Gaeilge agus an sin na cluichí ceannis ag deire fiúil. And I know a lot of people don't like the new calendar. Tá sagam a lá daoine ní hat níon an féilear an nua lo agus just níl siad cínta faoi agus it's very packed. You know, Donegal, for example, played 7 weekends in a row or something like that in Ishtag Cluichí. Immerheag dún an all because I'm shocked dear Seachtainna as a Céadaoin a bit shocked. Cluichid he was shedja 8 Seachtain. But for me, it's much better because the club is always the most important and club agus Gaeilge agus Samáníocht agus Cumann Lucas Gael generalta on rud is tábhachtaí ná na clubbanna. You know, it's na chundaithe and then they at least know when they'll be starting their championship. And look at the Galway players, even though they had a okay season, got to the quarterfinals. Cé grau Céisir ní ma ach Céisir tau, you know, la lán chundaithe eile chun sreicú an Malta ceathrú ceannis for a lot of other counties just to get to the quarterfinal rounds would be a good season. So, you know, we say sure tau ag Gailge ach fós is sin ráite still. That being said, an is tá mis ag tafadú an Lords Éireannach an trochu Lords a bhí meitheamh and we're going on the final day, the 30th of June, and those players are now free to play for their clubs and to organise themselves and plan holidays and everything. Tá sin an leighn the sira a chur in áirithe agus gach rud. So I much prefer the calendar the way it is, and you get this brilliant 6-week period fáin tú an tréimhse ionach ar fas sé seachtain anis agus tá sais caiiciis tíbhaiste den tréimhse sin hána féin. We're kind of a fortnight into that little period already and still 4 weekends of brilliant GAA hopefully to come. Ceir seachtain to Cumann Lucas Gael ionach le cúna J le shocked. So yeah, not always year. I thought it would be, to be honest. I spoke about that on the podcast a few months ago. We make Lords we sin ar bud Gaile cúpla Mayo hin after the win against Mayo, but that was really their last good moments. Really been a stocha on an cluichid Éireannach nó an bua more suntasach Éireannach a bhí agin imlína. But that's the way it is. And we'll see who's going to win it from here. But I imagine it might be Kerry. They seem to have got themselves into gear. Ceapam Gwil Curie Hun a Vukans haven't won it in a few years. Well, 2022, not that long ago. 3 blino in. Long time for Kerry. Fada Lahai Curie. Agus Ceapam Don Spragaku. O'Connor, the manager, was speaking about being written off last few days. Vi sé Lord, so you know, gach den you're tá Curie Yamiha Nilain Shansaku agus an sin. Hon bua de buinsa all in or the Waka, Champini Anuri. So to get a 10-point fixture over Armagh, the champions of last year, that is impressive. And if I had to put money on it, which I don't, used to in the past, but I don't bet anymore, ní may really occur in arrogance. Erin Rud Anish, go hoirthe leis an sport. Ach dá méich mé hon beagán arrogant a chur ceapam go gurthin €2 no €10 Curie Hun a bhúgan. Seachtain an all freisin na Jimmy Guinness, you know, ní féidir leat riomh ar nach bhfuil siad Hun and if you can't ever say that they're not going to do it. Anyway, not here to give you any massive insight on the Gaelic Football Championship Newman, so Hun Lords really faoi crave hill and a heron. So Gaeilge, go to the Irish Independent podcast, the brilliant sports podcast they have. No Off the Ball, no the football show, no the Alon put Gael Déanta, ma thought they were Gary éisteacht le Déanagan or led Déanagan actually calliha Hun Lords, so someone actually qualified to speak about it, but Gaeilge Weekly definitely isn't the place for that. Gaeilge Weekly on odds is far Hun a sin a yenu. But what I did want to talk about today on rud around me Gary Lords fui in yo shin actually gwilmud a nish la Bealaigh trades on Lean halfway through the year. Tá misig tafadú, you know, I know an Lords Éireannach in COV, the last day of the 6th month. So in terms of months, today or midnight tonight is kind of halfway through. Madra Lemon the Miana by Ms. La Bealaigh trades on Lean a nocht ag mianiha. Ach, cov sin, as well as that, I think the day this is coming out is July 2nd, and I think that's actually, in terms of days, Madra leis na Déanta sin an points an lafhaointe is tócha den bhlín, because February has a few less days, Marielle gohfuil cúpla lá níos lú, ag mé fiara sin an lá, actually go technol Madra Déanta agus Madra an, if ain in terms of time itself, that's the actual halfway point of the year. So it's funny looking back. Firstly, it's funny thinking how fast it goes. Tá sé grand verse when if we kick off tapi agus hain sé mise an seo ag an seo Seville ag fécans amach an inneog agus tá green ag tatnamh ní raibh báistag an seo le beidir caiiciis nó beidir mí anis we haven't had in around 2 weeks or month. I know it's different, Seville compared to in Ireland. It might be raining as you're listening to this in Ireland. Chance go mai sé chur báistí agus tá sé éisteacht le seo arás in Éireann. But it's funny thinking that, despite that, still closer now to this Christmas 2025, Thomas níos congrinis les an nullig seo, like nullig gábhils feith cuig ná an nullig an nuri. So agus fós actually, well, ní agus me sé ag tafaidú ach nuair atá sibse ag éisteacht le seo, so not while I'm recording, but as you guys are listening to this, you'll be closer to 2026 than 2024 by sib níos congri le gábhils feith sé ná mar bhaid sib le gábhíle is a feith cahar. And I know it's a very Irish thing and just a very typical thing in general, I think, from everyone almost. It's rud fear air nach on small chat shit, nach will on bhlíon, like, I get such the years flying or is going very fast, she dull gahan tapi. But it is, and it's, it's funny, I suppose, thinking back to January and February every year, ag swinús here, meanar, miúil, gach blin, been ruined the whole blin ag alán daoine. A lot of people have their New Year's resolutions and different things they want to achieve, and maybe they do them, or maybe even if they don't achieve them, few muna bhuineann siad na rudí sin amach. Fós téanann siad athhrú éigean, so mar hampla beidir, tá sé scríofa sí sacó, tá mé an dul go dtí an na daclaíochta 3 hour in aine seachtainna, gach seachtain sin bhlín. I'm gonna go to the gym like 3 days per week, every single week during the year, and then that doesn't happen. But at the very least, liad beidir bín ag síú sús le haidéim agus úsáidan si é am go ham. So it's not to say ní sin le rá, if you haven't achieved your New Year's resolutions or whatever your goals for the year was, the spruchana is tóca le haid an bhlín, mas rud é grá, chance na grá agus sin cearclóir, you might have even had any, and that's fine as well. But I guess even if you don't achieve the actual thing you've written down, few muna bhfuil an rud atá sríofa síos agat buinse amach agat fós tá sé go deas chun féchann siar agus ra ach tá ahrú déanta agam tá mé ar chosán níos fearr tóca is am a better path now with whether it be fitness, aclaíocht, no mental health, mearlánsa, or your work, the chuid zibra, or money, agad, or relationships, caidserv, agus rudí mar sin. And funny, what I do, and I was probably speaking about this, I have very poor memory in terms of different Gaeilge Weekly shows, what I did speak about, what I did, níl cuimhna anha agam madra le seóna Gaeilge Weekly difriúla cénsáis rud a rámé ag leabhar twaí agus cénsáis rud nach rámé ag leabhar twaí ar cén episód rámé ag leabhar twaí X, Y, or Z. A ceapan stócha an chéadagrán den bhlín, the first episode of the year, this year 2025, gábhíle is a feith gúg. I think I was speaking about different goals and different expectations for the year. It'd be, as a man who has plenty of issues sometimes in terms of coming up with a topic that week for Gaeilge Weekly, mar fear, I've been said, you could need Zachardom hun tak sús le topic an tak the gin, because I'm like, Cain Rud, well, may hun Lord sweet an tak so I guarantee, knowing the way my mind would work, I would have taken the easy way. I was keen to gur hog me is stocha an slí níos éasca amach agus just an chéadagrán an bhlín, just leabhar mé faoin the rudí typicúla, the typical things of how my Christmas was and what my goals are for 2025 cin ggólanna cin spruchanna cin aimimena atá agam agus a bhí agam agus atá fós agam anis agus muid ag teacht is teach chuig mí úil le haid gábhíle is a fé cúig agus tá si trífa síos agam an seo. So schreib me sí siad mí na nula go gcónaí an teachtain sin, an teachtain dhearnach den bhlín the last year, or the last week of the year rather, excuse me, go leisceil, in between Christmas Day and let's say New Year's Eve, so it's your lá nullig agus ihe chin blina. Is even lum ruddy a scrape mac. I think it's something to something. I think everybody has that, or a lot of people have that. Tá sin ag lá daoine. A scrape mac planana don tauchaí agus aimana. This am to rudigan on a spríúil leis agus bín saying, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and great motivation, inspiration. Go hori him moyena too, like Dyrcriv dull a chola little sagum to rudigan zifrúil fecum along memes fwy seo oranta like on spragu a bhí agat ag a zet a clog your roof dull a chola ag a hains ag fiú ag mneán ihe. Been if Tommy on my hail after work, I'm going to change my life tomorrow. Everything's going to be so different than you hear the alarm in the morning at 6 a.m. thinking maybe I don't have that much motivation to go up and get for a run, or I could just do this at 8 or 9. It's very chill. My shot a yen of I got hooked. No, any. But anyway, Arinos, I have all these things written down, about 20 goals. Tá really seo galéir scríb sí sagam hart fithe spruch no aim de friúil is tócha a bhí agam agus atá fós agam agus an chuid is mó, I mean, an like an umlaunch and footcrail on the full version and normal version of the podcast. I've already gone through these and realised most of them I'm doing quite well on chuid is modes and a keen shot to make Jenna sock. Mal, of course, there's one or two kind of more personal ones, or maybe ones to do with Learn Irish Online. In terms of different places or different things we want to do with the business, ruddy differul a will majiguri Déanta leis an gná. So I won't speak too much about them, but those ones are going good. Mar hampla on chéad ceann atá agam an lista an seo ná an adális, because if you've been listening for a while, you probably know that I'm learning Italian or trying to learn Italian to make Déanta hun an adális ólam, and to have a okay level. I can definitely chat to someone for 20 minutes, half an hour, but I'd be struggling at different parts of it. Them I pointed different. And unlike Spanish, which doesn't have a lot of grammar to it, leis an Spanish ní le lán gramadach leis I gcomhpháirtíocht le teanga merge of language is Italian. That's the one thing where it's a good bit trickier in Spanish. And on tain road, dumsa rein is branche or an dinner or no, depends on the person, of course. But dumsa being say nís dacra, it's more difficult. Mar tá nís mó gramdach stoch agus gramdach nís casta. It's less formulaic, let's say. That's probably not even the word, but it's tougher. Anyway, tush nís darker. Nís chomhpháirtíocht le gramdach na Gaeilge. It's not as difficult as Irish grammar, but what is? There's plenty of languages that is. Don't worry, you're not studying one of the hardest languages in the world. So it's not easy either, the Irish. But yeah, Hungarian or Finnish, as much as I've never really had contact with them. Cénach chuil or cénach ráin sagwal agam leis na teangacha sin as cúpla rud atá feice agam lína, which is how everyone my age gets their news and forms their complete opinions nowadays. Sin an chuimhín gachtainna chuis lom ag crothús dócha a gcuid tírimí na léithin de seo. Honnig mé go bhfuil sé sách zacher. So, yeah, in different cases, well, you don't have cases in Irish. Well, you have the genitive case on Tushkinachuk, that's it. In other languages, about 7 or 8 or 12 cases like that. It's Angakella, part of Shach no Wok no better. Ga Khas Jig. The Ruddy Kasul Leshin. Anyway, not to get too sidetracked. So with the Italian, I had written down Idalish Kupla Turskaji on Idol. Agus level B2 of a Agam. Now, in dinner of in egg fechen turn the Ruddy Nis Akadula. A bhíon muds ag crothú ag Learn Irish Online. So anyone who kind of listens to the more academic stuff we make at Learn Irish Online over in the membership, for example, hall air on mBéarla, mar hampla, you guys will know I don't like those kind of language levels, the A1, A2, B1, B2. Tá sagam, tá sig jas ro, tá mé B1 sa chan seo agus B2 sa tanga seo. Ach, níl ein híl it's just, needs you down. They're not there. They don't exist. They're not out there. There's no such thing. You only term Tachanga nis kasul character a fish cleha in a video game. Agus tostin to ag level a hain shin on XP no on level atá ag the character. Agus is feij lat dul suskaji level a tree head. So an arch on Rod Shaw and Shafford Shaw Immerhirmsha, this nonsense of like A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. Agus shine ma laring to changa. Cahi to a ag ceann in a sé level sin, agus nil to a nácheli actually won those 6 levels and nowhere else. I don't like that at all. I could tell you 20 or 30 different friends I've here in Seville. Fihid no circa cara atá agam an seo is Seville, agus níl an Spanish acu mar Zangaduchas. They don't have Spanish as their native language, and they all speak to varying degrees. There's no two people I could say they have the same level. Níl like verts oil me an honor on level can akib. But if they all did these tests, these European framework tests, loads of them will get C1, loads of them will get B2, but they're not the same level. Those people getting those same results na daoine ag fáil na torthaí céanna sin níl siad on level céanna. So that's why I don't like them. They can be useful for some things. Bíonn siad úsáid a chlai rudaí agus tuigim le haid posta all beidir mantá level B2 ag tastal wet si rud ag an sin tá sé difriúil. Ach arís níl mé réile ag labhairt faoi sin in nó ní mé géirí labhairt anamracha faoi sin agus faoi cheangacha ansá ar an budcréile. Ach just bhí sé sin agam mar sais rough guide is tó go háart ar level B2 agus níl éon sim agam maidir leis an scrúdú dhéanamh. Ach tá sé sin ag dul go maith, an céad chúpla mí den bhlín bhí agam agus háart ar an am sin directoréis an le chur mé an thuras go dtí an nidal in áirithe, so bhí mé an sin san Idal outside booked that trip to Italy, and then I was there in Italy. Vi men sin san Idal. It's I kept on new law take me more thing to an dara law me eyebrows so kaikish hall on shin san Idal when my sword tatnif as shin agus just tahi on a cool really cool experience on a vet san Idal dun chéad or dun dara or an or ella an or yearnach vi men sin le me hismahori, le me chlán, agus ní rá an teanga agam, bhí me sé blin na deag díos ceapan, so different, of course. So hunna bheith sin agus clachta dhéanamh an sin agus lán focail difriúla a ólam I Milan. Ja, bhí sé sin go hint or I Milan, ní ra mé I Milan, ach ar fear cúpla lá, ach é Bologna agus an áit a ra mé ag fannacht congraachta Bologna, the place I was staying close to Bologna. And I suppose more so I probably got more practice in the 2 months before even on Davi Rivishin, me anar, me fiara piece of vi morta freshen, doing a lot of practice like general long clock do, so that when I went to Italy and then on my trip, honest nar hain me on sin could see on Idal on Thurstin gomech level sock ma agam no on level mo rohan the dollar shagam hun clock do le daoine enough practice or enough a good enough level to be able to actually practice with people while I got there. Agus misha on sin. So that was good. I did find it kind of messed up my Spanish while I was practicing Latvia me. Ag dino an made sin clock to that much practice leis an adolish ag tús blina actually chur éisteacht my chud Spanish and my Spanish level dropped, and even I was speaking with an Italian accent when I was speaking Spanish for me lauert le blas buganin idálach is though agus nervy me ag lauert a Spanish. So I was very careful then after coming back, taking a few weeks off I toggle couple shots here and then getting back to my Italian practice the start of May ag fillerash chlachta na hidálise ag tús mi bealtainna gone like a nummerka not to do too much, just 2 lessons a week, and the lessons that they were really simple, just sit down with my teacher and we just chat away for an hour, just see him she's lemunser Lorraine muds erfa or erkleg Augustine and Jane grammar drills no Níl text lower agi ní bhín mitigation the clan just mish ag lauert agus ag the léhi nervin shisha ag lauert agus ag her Ceisteanna I speak and then I listen to her while she's speaking and asking me questions normal, like as if me knew, yes, you who's listening right now, just like if we went for a coffee or a beer together. Because you'll let da mechmant ag dul an sin hun cafe all no bior all the kale just like large catch up of agin is still carfa or click agus an sin ma hagen rudeg and sus agus Neil making sure if something comes up and I'm not sure about it, we look at that word at our grammar or whatever it is she might talk about it bish trivian hadalish a week's legit on here hishkins fiber b so I can understand here no problem. So it's great anyone learning Irish who wants to get better at speaking and listening. Honestly, find someone whether it's a teacher or just someone who's fluent. Dinne egg and a rubber marwunsor no few just dinne egg and a talifa hanahin agus tor €50 of hun sishis. Let's just give them €20 to sit down with you for an hour a week and just speak for an hour and write anything new that comes up. Screeve ein rud nua hagen. And he's preferably with an actual teacher, someone who knows the grammar behind it and can explain things, tricky concepts. So that's going good, and I think I'll try and get back socially again before the end of the year. Ceapan go níontí mé iirecht ton fiú ras ar na dal ribh ar na blina if I can. There's a few places I want to go before the end of the year, and also I love being here in Seville even when it's very hot. Few nuair a bhíonn sé anna te cosú le inniu fóstas even them in seo sunna mé gurí an numcha ama a chathú tíomh mu de Seville agus freisin to mé gurí dul asca héan agus tá plan agam agus actually sin an dara rud atá scrífa síos agam an seo ar an liste ná stint níos fuide stint so le Béarla so a time period stocha níos fuide in éan mégan. So I was thinking bhí méid smaoin bh gam ná like, you know what, le cúpla blin nús ní mé cathú an numcha ama nó mór an ama in éan, tá mé teachtar cuaig lá mí aibran, cuaig lá mí bhean fóver, cuaig nó sé lá an sin ag an nula, agus becheartam níos máma a chathú an sin, le a chláán, le a chóird an sin, agus, mar sin, dúirt mé, nach méid sé deas, like, trí seachtain nó mí omlan a chathú an éan ag puinte aigen ag 2025 at some point in 2025. And actually, if not done that, I've kind of changed that. And again, this is the great thing, goals, I think, Sean Rodínta leis brochanna. Agus orintha caiid tú bheith cormach leis seo, be careful with this as well. Mar orintha scríbhinn tú rud aigen síos, agus scríbhinn mise rud aigen síos, agus tosnaí man rud sin, agus tugam faoi deara, okay, níl sé actually like X a bhfuil mé géirí. It's not really X specifically, the thing I wrote down that I really want. It's actually more so this. So beidir mar hampla scríbhinn síos, Céadaoin an the Gnáthleagan 3 hour in éisteacht, and I go to the gym 3 times a week. But then I start going and realize I don't actually like this too much, but I want to be fit. That's what I'm chasing. Agus an sin beidir actually chin to agree 3 hour in éisteacht. Instead, you start going running outside instead the gym 3 times a week. So you can't be too married to goals, or kind of, rather than what the goal you have written down, what's the actual thinking behind it? Cad éon rud really tíobh here. So an sin mar hampla, dúirt mé actually ní mé géirí stint chomhpháirtíocht sin mar síomhlamm a bheith an seo sa bhéal, agus orintha, just son a bheith fearna, cos íomhlamm a bheith ras in éan nach orintha tar éis seachtain, caiiciis, 3 seachtain, ar réon beaganín, this am croníam rudaí an seo sa bhéal, I miss things here in sa bhéal, and so I don't want to put myself through that. Not that that's a big thing, but it is when you're somewhere, but you want to be somewhere else. Tá ráite aigen, agus tá tú géirí bhráite aigen eile. Agus orintha bíonn mé an seo sa bhéal, agus bíonn mé géirí a bheith arás in éan. So I bring say on dá clí your fluil. It works the 2 different directions or the 2 different ways. But I think instead, actually, instead of going back for 5 or 6 days at a time, still go back 3 times during the year. Fós sé ras 3 hour in éine blina, a gach hour a héimearás, a bheith ras ar fad jet law. No beidir caiiciis, if you to be back for 10 days or even 2 weeks every time I'm back. So that's kind of the goal, or where I'm at with it. So I'm going to be going back actually the end of, well, this month as you guys are listening to it, but I make $1 ag zera na mísa seo agus sibse ag éisteacht le seo. By me ar as hartar an séú lá nó an seachta lá is fihid de bhíúil. I'll be back by 26th or 27th of July. And I'm going to be going back to Belfast, my first ever time in Belfast, on chéad or a bheits me i Belfast riomh in my hill. First time I'll have ever been in Belfast in my life. Only second time I'll have been in the 6 counties up in Northern Ireland. So níochan dara or a bheits me an sin na dúscart éireann. Bhí man sin gábhíil sa héinte bliontóin, but just Enniskillen and Tyrone and quite Catholic areas, just to be straight about it, odds and níos Catholica an sin agus ní rá sé ar fa gá lá, ach ar fa gá lá was only for 2 days. So first proper time going, I guess, chid or will make dul mar sceart. So really looking forward to that. I'll be going to the Tradfest. Some people listening to this might be going to the Belfast Tradfest. Give me a message if you're chur teachtar thuigim má tátaigh dul. So tá cúpla níl mór an sé magam I gceol trad on a bheith machánta. To be honest, I don't really have much interest in traditional music or Irish traditional music. I like going to a session and having a pint, but probably without the pints or the company, I wouldn't enjoy it as much. Gan an cóúidir agus an crack agus na piontaí beidir ní bheith an méid céin a tatnamh ag buint leis. There may not be the same amount of enjoyment, I suppose, going along with it. But looking forward to that. Some of my friends are going, and I've never been to Belfast, so going to go to that and then find my way down to Galway afterwards and spend the next 10 days or so probably in Galway, but also travel about and go to Kerry as well to see a friend there, Dul Kerry, Hun Cara Ekal Ansin. So sin an plánach actually segue eile an sin to méid a couple of segues ítach and spruck go spruck from goal to goal, or I suppose even just again not to be too married to them gan bheith chomh Gaeilge leis na cín seo leis na spruchan seo, but just ideas or kind of not, I don't want to say affirmations, but intentions. That's the word for the year. I don't want to sound too airy-fairy. But one of the other ones was to go to Northern Ireland, or the north of Ireland, whatever you want to call it. So Tuaisceart Éireann, Tuaisceart na hÉireann, an Dublin sin mar agus freisin chun níos mó a ólam faoi stair na hÉireann go chóirithe gárad an Gurtamór. So to learn more about Irish history, two things specifically: the famine and the troubles. Mar actually a lan rudí ólas agam faoi stair na hÉireann ceap I gcomhpráid le lan daoine eile ceapam aréanas compared to a lot of other people, a lot of other Irish people. I know a lot about, let's say, War of Independence, Civil War, Cosgrave, Devil Era, na Fihidzi, na Turkadzi, Easter Rising, to some extent, Ariamach na Chaska, go pointe, ach ní Kahanoa, ach, I guess then, the emergency as well, the dark Hug down the Second World War in Ireland. Ach, an sin marial gnearna me stadir an star. Some young school, I studied history for the Leaving Cert in secondary school, done ortest. Ach, ní arnamud, leis an ortest on made sin ruddy defriúlar and curriculum, but you only have to choose a few things. The teacher, you have chooses a few topics for you to do. Fiochan an munsar ma cúpla topic, no cúpla module. So the troubles were on our let's say curriculum, but we never did it near or in a because there's always you can figure it out, there's always a choice between, let's say, whatever, the troubles and the emergency in Ireland, which is the other name for the Second World War in Ireland. And a lot of people forget that now. Most people my generation on chuid is mó do chuoine choi slumsa in Glúine during the Second World War. Ach in Éireann, traditionally, because tradiisiúnta call the emergency air. That's I'm actually as Gaeilge céinsáis rud a chléo caiith mé é sin alerg. Ach, like moillim beagnaín, stocha moillim beagnaín nóire, feel a bit of embarrassment. Nachhfuil méid sin ólas agam na tribology agus an Gurtamór. So I bought a book at the start of the year, cheanna mé leabhar ag tús na bliana, what is it called? Making Sense of the Troubles by David McKittrick, agus actually ceapan gúil údar eile freisin. I think there's another author, or maybe it's just McKittrick. I can't remember. Apologies to the author Broner on túdar eile mátá údar eile But it's really good. Really not too many opinions given. Níl mór an theory, really tucha. It's a bit heavy, so I'm making my way through it slowly but surely. I'm up to 1975 now. To make the hartar needs ag seachta cuaig in ish, agus, meaning ag gach rud really harla idir. Hartar needs ag fiha, needs ag shades ag hartar an am sin, nor 4, nor bhuin era an navsblach is speart amra amach. When Ireland gains independence, godzí an bhlín. Gaeilge gabhfuil sa cuaig, an chéad cúpla bliain tar éis chomhain tú ina an chéasta the first few years after the Good Friday Agreement. So going through that heavy enough, trom a lot of detail on sunry, agus is matla sin a cílín sa sin nach féidir leat, well dumsa, ní féidir lumpsa really more on like níos mó ná cuaig nó sé leatnach a léamh in one sitting. It's tough for me to read more than 5 or 6 pages in one sitting without kind of losing focus. But it's really good, I think, really important to read stuff like that. A lot of people, I think, got that from Spotlight, is it called, Capam? Or Secret, talán really, le blian nó ho anús taghamach madra leis na tribology, agus méid zin dermot anis gacrad agus mohim godonna on van bocht sin a forbos Jean McConville, on mates ruddy a hánig amach faoi sin a nuri. And I think it's really important. People in my generation, someone, okay, I know I'm not from the north of Ireland, I'm from the Republic, so some public to me, but I'm part of the Good Friday generation, is that I don't have memory of major conflicts in the north. I was born 2000. Rogus of Lean Gaeilge me, so Níl Cuimhne, conflicts, no caibhlins, no threads on a war on sin I Tuaisceart na hÉireann. So it's important, I think, to learn from the famine. We get told so little about the famine in Ireland. Ní bhíon mór an éascas churbe faoin gurta mór in Éireann. So I haven't done too much on that, to be honest. I'm doing a lot more in the trouble second half of the year an dara lads in bhín bhuaithlim níos mó dhéanamh an gurta mór. And, going to Northern Ireland, and I like when I go to be able to walk around different parts of the city, and the Shankill, the Falls, loads of different parts, it's in a year for Simple na cabhrú from West Belfast to East Belfast, and get a feel for the place, because it's too easy, I think, in Ireland to say. It's always skin and just for, sin éarag, sin é, no, tá an méid sin daoine ina gcóin ann, agus moille siad, grass tuisceart éireann that they're from Northern Ireland or that they're from the UK, grass an réig Déanta agus caiithí tú an méids céanna mass a response chuig na daoine sin. You have to show the exact same amount of respect towards those people as you do towards the Catholics and the Nationalists and the Republicans, whatever you want to call people. And, it's more fragmented now. And it's like Dovug's Bon Mar River. It's not as black and white as before. There's a lot of different groups. Maybe Catholics who are feel more British or Northern Irish, agus chomhpháirtíocht sin beidir go protestúnig, agus tá si éirí a bheith mar chuid to éire aontaithe sa tauci. They want to be part of the United Ireland in the future. So it's complicated. Tá sé cástaigh a lán rudaí, agus tá sé ro éasca, agus ro leisciúil I hearimse. It's too easy and also too lazy to just say, that's Ireland and whatever else, all the other type of chat that goes on sometimes. So yeah, sinna, gur mína maigi, guys, níl sam, tá cúpla rud eile I liste ach rud nimé géirí gohfuil an podcréile seo I don't want this thing to be too long, this podcast, but a few of the things, most things are going well, and a few things not going well, a few things I haven't really done as well as I could have. Cúpla rud agus níl mé beidir ag déanamh chomh mar a bheith mé ann. But again, it's nice to read that list again now instead of just looking at it 1st of January and forgetting about it, gone just dermid a dhéanamh an Gaeilge Lads in Flean. Actually Quinal Sue / written a blina, and again editing some goals, just say maybe I want more of this, less of that, nís modes and rud seo, nís luid and rud sin. Agus yeah, tá cúpla rud eile, do up my office here, which I'm kind of halfway through to make it better, more professional. Learn Irish Online office, signific LIO, new laptop all, so tá laptop new organish, so sin bunin sa sin leis an obair record player a cheannach, níos sa sin Jane tagum, a ceafan ribhtar na blina. Beidir go joey me cean on. I might get one, but left to get a lot of vinyls then as well, of course. It's like buying a console. That's only half it. You have to buy the games. Caiit tú na físclaí a cheannach freisin más rud é gohfuil tú a géirí console a cheannach. Agus cúpla rud eile. So no, tá rud ag tóg má sásta leis an Gaeilge Lads an Bhín, agus mar is gnách mar deir me gcónaí ar an budcair listen. Cé go bhtábhaach agus atá sé chun an daldális ólam. How important is it to learn Italian? Cé go bhtábhaach agus atá sé fiú chun níl sam, níos máama a chahuan éireann nó dulga tuisceart ar okay, tá sé tábhachtach caci gcomhpháirtíocht, má tá bíagat, má tá, so in comparison, if you have food, if you have wash, má tá bíagat, isca ad, má tá, muna bhfuil cog ar siúil, má tá siacán ad san áit ina bhfuil tú I de chonaí sinna rud tábhachtí. That's the most important thing in your health, of course, the chláinsa chomhma. So I think it's important not to forget that. Tá sé tábhachtach gan dermid ar sin. Anyway, that's it for this week, guys. Sinead, done Sachlan show. If you're learning the language, don't forget about all the other stuff available on Learn Irish Online, on stuff ar fall, Learn Irish Online, learnirishonline.com, on patreon.com/Learn Irish Online. Loads of details as well in the description of this podcast. Tá a lot on Sunray le fall, so descriptions in fud craile show. I won't lecture you about it. Head away yourself and check it out. What we have to offer Gaeilge Weekly is just one of the many things we do. Gaeilge Weekly, she's just rud one as a lán ruddy and the muds gach seachtain agus gach lá. Thank you very much for listening. Gur míle mágah as a bheith éisteacht, slán agus beannacht.